Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC London. Alexander Volkov taking on Tom Aspinall, the hometown hero. But first, before we can get into it and the incredible co-main event, we have unbelievable, awesome guy, friendly, funny motherfucker, friend of the show, Ben the Bane Davis, commentator on Tarps Off Fight Club. What's going on, man?
Hey, good to join you guys this evening to break down these fights. Not a whole heck of a lot, just loving the card that they've put together. I mean, shoot, they have not been to London in quite some time. I think it was 3 years ago this week.
Right?
2 years ago.
3? Is it 2?
I think it was 3. It was scheduled to 2 years ago. That's right. And they had to cancel it.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Masvidal Till. That was the first start of the resurrection. Oh my God.
Darren's still asleep in the O2.
I think so.
3 years later.
So this runaway with Chimaev is all just a dream then, huh?
It's CGI's getting crazy these days, guys. You can just make anything happen.
That's one of the best friendships you could really ask for in MMA. And Till did it so he doesn't have to fight him.
That's completely fair.
He didn't want to fight Yoel Romero either, remember?
He's a selective guy.
Yes, he is.
Oh,
But
shit.
back to this awesome card. Oh my goodness. Right, we got Dan Hooker making his featherweight return versus our Arnold Allen, another hometown hero. They're littered throughout the card. Super, super exciting. Got Patty the Baddie, right? Back not fighting Ilya Topuria for some silly reason, but fighting Vargas.
Yeah, and then we got Grundy back.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Nelson, what was Nelson's last fight? Wasn't the Edwards one, or was it?
Yeah, it was Gilbert.
No, it was
Burns.
Gilbert.
Oh yes. Shoot.
Fuck. Right, because that was on that London card, the Leon fight, and then he fought Gilbert.
I mean, talk about some real close decisions. And, man, it's nice to see him back after such a long layoff. I'm really excited to see how he gets back into it. And, I mean, it really looks like they built out like a pay-per-view worthy card. They're just missing like a title fight here. But, I mean, this is one of those ones that you wouldn't mind seeing on like when you're looking down the pay-per-view and everything. I mean, this one's got me excited. It's playing out middle of the day. So, going to be a little tough, get in there early
for a working boy.
Yeah, your boy's going to be working out there.
I love it. I love these early ass cards where they do them and who the fuck knows where, right? It's like I get to start my day with pro MMA and then I get to have the rest of my afternoon to do whatever. Like it works out. I kind of dislike these pay-per-views because typically what I do is I drive about 45 minutes north to my parents' place, watch it with my dad. We have like a little party come over. Okay. And I mean, shit, it concludes around 10 p.m. AZ time. And so I'm like, I don't want to drive back down. I might as well crash here. So it's like these early cards, I bust it out and then I get to analyze or do some post content. Right. It's just works out.
Well, between that and it basically being St. Patrick's Day, I need a damn shot, right? Let's do a freaking shot on air here, right? So little Jameson, cheers. Thanks for being here, Bane. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. I'll get some goose
let's
going.
Go, YOLO. Let's get going, boys. Why not, right?
Yeah, he's ready.
Let's get going, baby.
Let's go. This was not planned. Cheers, boys.
Let's go. Wow.
Salud.
Love it. So, hey, fucking way to kick off the card here. We got the big boys all the way at the top in the main event. Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. I mean, you talk about striking on the feet, going to see some action out here. I think these boys are ready to throw down. Man, I love seeing those early face-offs on the media days. That's another thing that almost felt like a pay-per-view here.
It really did.
It was so cool seeing them match up. And, man, I just can't wait to see them actually in the octagon. Volkov, he's been coming in big recently. And I'm curious to see what he weighs in at this time around because he probably is going to want to be a little lighter on his feet facing one of the quickest moving guys at heavyweight in Tom Aspinall. I know I'm going to be keeping an eye out for the weigh-ins for that part. But, I mean, as far as the stylistic breakdown goes, I mean, Guru, what are you seeing play out here?
Yeah, it seems to be a fair duality in this fight in between what people think is going to happen, right? You either see Tom Aspinall with the pressure, that quick finish, because he's just so explosive and he seems to have, whether it's the power or the quick ability to just get your neck, right, in the Andrei Arlovsky fight, Just a super dangerous guy, it seems, within those first 7 minutes. But like we haven't seen nobody really other than one amateur fight is him past that 7-minute mark, is go the distance. So then the duality, the other side of the fight being people see maybe Volkov being able to survive that early storm and then, kind of either finish him later on as maybe Aspinall doesn't have a gas tank as quote unquote, because we haven't seen it. A doesn't mean he doesn't have it. We just don't know. Or B, maybe it just goes the distance and Volkov is able to, kind of piece him apart, pick him apart at range in maybe a larger cage. Because again, not only has Aspinall not fought in front of a giant crowd, he has not fought anywhere but the Apex, I believe. So yeah, I think that could play into this fight pretty interestingly. I believe, didn't he even say himself, I don't necessarily want to, I want to climb the ladder slowly and take this easy. And then he gets the main event versus Volkov. What? What happened?
I think that there's two things going on right there. One, Darren Till obviously wasn't around. He didn't put together a big win streak in the last couple of years to main event this card. And, if you are Tom Aspinall, you're really going to turn down a main event opportunity like this? In this game, those are few and far between. And yes, he's taking it slow. But at the same time, everybody in that top 10 at heavyweight is kind of a decent step up. Sure, there's a couple easy fights probably for Tom, but any way of taking it slow doesn't get you close to the belt. And so this obviously is a big step up, sure, but I feel kind of still within that same vein of thinking. But I will suggest this, and it's going to be a bit of an echo. Volkov is known for kind of taking over. If you're a fighter who comes out strong in the first 5, he's known for taking over with that pace. He lulls you into that striking match, and the kickboxing accolades do not end when you talk about Drago. And Aspinall, I think if he doesn't get it done within the first 2 rounds, is going to lose 48-47. So him by points at plus 250, Volkov by decision is an inflated line. That really should be minus 150. That's his best value, right? I think for Volkov. And Aspinall by KO plus 180. I think that's a great line for him because that's in my mind, only way he's going to get it done. Volkov's got great takedown defense. I mean, we've seen him survive off of his back against people like Blades and really not be in any serious trouble with submissions of that ground and pound. And I know Tom Aspinall's family is jiu-jitsu royalty over in England. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but I believe I heard something about it.
No, you're onto something there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of tools. That's what Aspinall has. And so I am picking him. I'm confident in Aspinall cashing tonight. I think that he should be a bit of an underdog given Volkov's experience and this big step up. Clearly, the hometown heroes moving that line simply by name value. But I think that this is a very, very winnable fight. Tom's good where Volkov's weak. You look at the people that Volkov's beaten: Marcin Tybura, Overeem, Harris, Greg Hart. Greg Hart is not even fucking really relevant in this conversation. But the one thing is he's either beating guys that aren't really ever going to be contenders or prospects for the belt, or he's beating guys that have a bit of a durability lack, right? Harris and Overeem aren't guys that can really weather the storm. I think Tom can. He's a young cat, 11 wins, all of them by finish. He can get in those firefights and typically will come out on top. And I think his forward momentum type style, pressuring Drago. Look, Volkov's great at distance management. He really is. But you look at the Cyril Gane fight, he was not in control at any second. That was all Gane all day, just pressuring Volkov against the cage. I can see Aspinall replicating that to a great degree and finding that finish within the first 7 to 10 minutes like you guys were talking about. This one, in my mind, I don't want to say it's a layup for Aspinall, but if we're talking about names within that top 10 at heavyweight, I'd be like, okay, good. Because this guy falls into kind of the machine of what I'm quite excellent and elite at.
I think what it comes back to is, I was sitting here thinking about Aspinall and I know he has the 8 knockouts on his record, but from watching how he picked up those knockouts so far, at least in the UFC, not a lot of it is generated from one punch power, but at the same time, neither is Alexander Volkov. So when you kind of counterbalance, one of the things that I always disliked about Cyril Gane's game and Tom Aspinall's game, and one of the reasons I keep trying to fade them, is they keep their hands so low, but their movement is so good. Cyril Gane, we had seen him go 15 minutes. We had seen him go 25 against Jairzinho Rosenstrike before heading into his matchup with Volkov. So we could trust that. We knew that he could go those rounds. Aspinall has never been out of the second round, and I don't see him having that finishing potential early against a guy in Volkov that the only knockout he suffered at the UFC level, we're talking about in 11 fights. It's Derek Lewis in the third round at the last second.
Yeah.
And
that fight was crazy.
Ultimately, I do feel really comfortable. I think one of my best plays overall is I think that these guys, I think Aspinall's been looking for a little bit more cage time and almost disappointed he hasn't been able to get it so much. I ultimately think that if I was going to play this fight solo, I'm going to stay away from the money line. And while, fight goes the distance at plus 160, it might be a little bit much as far as like going all the way down. But I like pulling up here on FanDuel, this fight to start round 4 at even money minus 116. They have a little more juice on that than they would normally, but I think this sees the championship rounds. I think both of them are very good at managing their distance and surviving bad situations. And Aspinall, I think we're going to see his cardio tested here. I'm not willing to throw down the gauntlet either side. I could totally see Aspinall winning a decision, but let me get that fight start round 4. I think I have bigger plays as this card goes on, but that's going to be something I sprinkle on here.
That's certainly an interesting thought. As I'm looking at it, I wasn't sure, by the way, Bane, what book do you use?
I'm on a DraftKings Sportsbook.
DraftKings. Okay, very cool. Because we use DraftKings as well, but we also use FanDuel. So one of the things I thought was very interesting was that that you said that Volkov by decision was probably the most value in him, and I think that's possibly true, where you can get Volkov by decision at plus 500 on FanDuel. Yeah, that's fairly juicy. You can also get Volkov round 4-5 decision plus 310, which is also something that I'd probably lean more towards again if I was on the Volkov side. But like TB kind of alluded to, I'm really more interested in playing a time prop on this. The side kind of really sketches me out. So I'm looking to parlay fight to start round 3 minus 172. I'm looking to parlay that out to something. So I'm gonna mention that later in the pod.
All right. I like that.
I like how you brought up Aspinall wanted to get that cage experience, because that's something that we saw in Magomed Ankalaev, just 7 days ago, where he was like, the reason why I went the full 25 is because I wanted to prove to myself and people that I could do that. Now, what I want to suggest is that was a very unpopular decision within the masses. I mean, shit, nobody liked that fight. And so Tom Aspinall fighting in his hometown, I think that I don't know. I mean, this might be way out there in left field, but does Aspinall want to put on a show? Does he want to maybe entertain a little bit? Does he want to find that finish in his backyard? And yeah, you're right. We haven't seen him past round 7. So I think there's a large incentive for him to go fast early. That's his style. That's what he's done for the entirety of his pro MMA career. So it would be interesting for him to adjust and play the longer game here when the stakes are so big. Continue what got you to the dance. Don't mix it up when, if Aspinall loses here, I think that and in like a lopsided decision where he's just getting broken down and completely gassed at the end of round 3, I don't know, that stock is going to go down in a drastic way. And so I feel best way for him to get it done is early. But I do like that mention. I like that mention because it is such an interesting conversation of these guys that are over 185 pounds. It's like the cardio is in question.
I mean, I had a major play last week on that fight to go the distance, by the way, which was plus 1. I hit that at plus 130. And I think we had talked about that on the show as well. It's just, these guys, man, they go in there and at a certain point, they get comfortable and they set a little bit higher than a sparring pace. And they kind of get comfortable in there. And it's very possible that if Aspinall comes in there with the mindset of anything other than let's light him up and put on a crazy show, like any sort of championship mindset, he's going to want to take his time with somebody as veteran as Volkov.
All right. So that brings us along to our next fight here, which has got a lot of stuff behind it.
That's what I'm saying. I was trying to put it off because it's literally, I'm flipping back and forth constantly on this co-main. It's got me on the edge of my seat.
Arnold Allen minus 115, Dan Hooker minus 105. And we saw Dan Hooker open as a pretty significant underdog. And now, he pulled ahead to a favorite, back down to a slight dog at minus 105. I think a lot is being paid attention to his weight cut. It was definitely something I was following on the internet. And I think we all know he's going to make the weight. That's something that Hooker's going to do. We just want to see what he looks like when he does it. Because there's a play that we're very interested in on this fight. Allen minus 115, Hooker minus 105 as we speak. But really got to make sure that Hooker doesn't look too depleted up there on the scale. Him making weight, what was it, a couple months ago as a test, definitely a good sign. Working with the UFC PI, maybe a little bit more coordinated in his cut this time around. But stylistically, I mean, he's got a 4-inch height advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage. He looks a whole weight class bigger. When they first faced off today, I mean, you could see it. So the question is, does the cardio remain as he goes back down? He says it's a whole other commitment since he had to do this for a full 7 weeks to make the weight. Let's see it. I'm very interested, but there's so many variables here that like telling me at almost a straight pick 'em. Such a good fighter and good prospect in Allen minus 115, Hooker minus 105. I'm not throwing down a huge bet on this fight. I want to have big plays on the co-main, the main, but sometimes you just find your spot somewhere else along the card. So, I mean, Guru, I know you were thinking something here.
Yeah, first off, like I said, this fight is super sketchy. And again, by the way, I love DraftKings, love FanDuel. FanDuel has it right now. You can get Dan Hooker plus 100. So, this line, I'm very, very curious to see where it goes Friday and especially Saturday. Man, what I really saw about this fight, especially, and I almost still might wait for weigh-ins to place it because, like I said, it's very concerning. Honestly, the weight cuts for both. How are we not going to pretend that Arnold Allen didn't get tired versus Sadiq Youssef and lost that 3rd round? And it was definitely because I don't think he was just super comfortable that he was up 2 rounds. I think that he was fucking tired.
But ultimately, your play.
Ultimately, my play, thank you, is that I like the fight to go the distance. I think that they're both warriors, and I think that it's going to take the full 15.
Minus 165?
Is that what it is?
On DraftKings. Do you have a better line on FanDuel?
FanDuel, I have fight to go the distance at minus 142. So a little bit better there. But what I also want to do is I'm going to parlay whether it's fight to start round 2 or fight to start round. I'll probably do fight to start round 3 at minus 220. You parlay that to what I said before. And fight starting round 3 in the main event at minus 172, and that's a plus 130 parlay just on some times. And like I said, in these 2 sketchy fights that, like, as a fan, I really just want to watch and enjoy, and I'll be rooting for like a little bit more of the fight anyway. So fuck it. I get to watch and not necessarily have to pick a side. While I certainly lean, I don't even know where I lean. I guess I lean Dan Hooker at this point, but I just think that those weight cuts never turn out well. And on top of that, Dan Hooker is not somebody that's been able to capitalize in these big career moments. What do you think, Bane? It's been too long without hearing from you, buddy.
I'm just sitting and listening because you guys are making some fantastic points. And ones that I agree with immensely. You're talking about Arnold Allen's tallest opponent that he's ever faced. So that's something to really consider. Those last 5 minutes against Youssef were really not all that encouraging. And he's just not an active guy. He fought once in 2021, once in 2020, twice in 2019. And while he does have a very impressive 8-fight win streak, and all of them are unanimous decisions, so he's getting it done convincingly on the scorecards, it just speaks to me that he's got a lot of great fundamentals, but I am not sold on Allen being somebody that is really going to be a champion in some way, shape, or form. And so I look at Dan Hooker on the other end of the aisle, and that fight with Dustin Poirier, even though it was a loss, 25-minute war, to me, that's almost more impressive than anything Arnold Allen's done, because it showed a whole heck of a lot against the guy who was a former interim title holder. And Allen's got what? Sadiq, Nick Lentz, Gilbert Melendez. I mean, the strength of schedule just is not the same. And that's really why I did invest kind of heavily in this discussion about the weight cut and the 163-pound photo that he put out. And it kind of skipped my brain that he'd done a test cut. It brings me a lot of reassurance to know that, okay, he did get down there and they did a test like that. It does lessen my concerns, but it doesn't erase them. They're certainly still present. And when I look at this one, I think that one of the best props I can put out there is fight to be won by unanimous decision, plus 100 at DraftKings right now. I think it's going to be a convincing performance by the winner. It's either going to be Allen improving on those fundamentals and showing maybe that next level that he hasn't been able to, addressing those cardio concerns, because he's got that forward pressure style. He's got decent striking, good wrestling as well. And, he's not Islam Makhachev, right? But we've seen Hooker kind of struggle with guys like that have that approach. DP took him down numerous times in that 25-minute affair. So I think if Allen's able to get everything working and he's had a lot of time off to develop and evolve. So we don't really know what version of Arnold Allen we're going to get. He's 28. These guys are malleable at that age, and they adopt new things, and their toolbox expands when they're this young in their career. And so Hooker on the other side, like you mentioned, hasn't shown that he can step up to the plate and hit a homer when he needs to. Again, these last several outings are against people that, in my mind, are going to hold the title. In Islam Makhachev, you talk about Michael Chandler. I can easily see a world in which in the next 2 years, Chandler holds the belt. Poirier's still up there. So it's not like Hooker's losing to these guys. And the only two that were quite one-sided were the Makhachev and Chandler ones. Chandler sparked him. Islam did what Islam does. So I don't put too much stock into it. But in the general sense of he doesn't get it done when he needs to, I agree with that. And the thing that I also am considering, like I mentioned with Aspinall, right? If this goes to the scorecards, he's the hometown kid. You fucking think that they're going to give Almighty a decision loss in the O2? I just can't believe that.
That's an interesting point.
So Hooker needs to either knock him down like each round and really be, like I said, convincing with the performance. But I can see a little Montreal screw job action going on and Allen getting a robbery if it's not as convincing of a performance as I think he's going to put on. I'm picking Allen by unanimous decision. I think it goes the distance. I think he gets it done on points. But I mean, shit, I would love to see Dan Hooker win. It's been too long.
Interestingly enough that you mentioned that, it was funny because it was Dan Hooker that was at home, right? And he got that win versus Paul Felder.
Against Felder, yep.
Yeah.
Pissed me off. That fucked my betting for that day.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, ultimately, this is a super tight one. The line doesn't lie. So I wouldn't be pulling out your hammers for this one. But as we move on to this next fight, you might want to start talking to Thor because I'm feeling like throwing one down. And if you guys were following us earlier in the week here on Bet MMA Tips, you would have gotten a lot better line than we got now. So let's kick it off, baby. We got Paddy the Baddy. Paddy Pimblett versus...
I'll blow the roof off the guff.
versus Kazula Vargas.
Awful.
Don't mind our horrible accents as we get into this fight. And give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to keep you guys around and get these best bets because this is where we're going to start dropping the hammer, guys. We got Paddy Pimblett at minus 550. What did we catch him at it earlier in the week here? Because this line started really sliding away. If you go over to our Bet MMA Tips and you take a look at our Chronic Combat Conversations, you're going to see that we got Paddy early in the week, baby. And we got him at, oh, damn. They make it so difficult. It was a 1.23. That means,
I got you.
Yeah, you got him, man. But listen, so overall, you see the size differential.
Minus 430.
There you go, minus 430. Now we're at minus 550. So that's the benefit of getting in early. So Paddy right now, what we see is a guy on the rise and a guy that someone UFC is trying to push. And Kazula Vargas, that's someone that you push your boys against. If your name is Brock Weaver, it doesn't go so well. If your name is Arichi Long, it doesn't go so well. But but listen, this is a real different level of experience overall from Paddy Pimblett. He's got a really nice size advantage. We saw in their face-off today. He's in the best shape of his life. He continues to just keep working hard in camp, no matter how fat he looks after his fights, and he plumps up a little bit. The dude gets back down into it. So, I mean, ultimately, overall, we saw Paddy's, aggressiveness and moving forward and throwing hooks and combos against Luigi Vendramini. But also, don't forget about his vast experience as a black belt and subbing these guys. I mean, he's got 5 knockouts, 8 submissions, 4 decisions. He could win this any which way, and Kazula Vargas loves leaving that neck in for guillotine attempts. Just ask Brock Weaver. And, all the other times that he's been locked up, De Silva had him a couple of times. It's like, overall, you just can't trust Kazula Vargas here. And he's never been knocked out. That doesn't mean that it won't happen, but I'd lean more towards the Paddy at sub. I saw plus 280, but just Paddy in the parlay, baby, or Paddy inside the distance. Those are going to be my looks. But yeah, minus 550. Are you parlaying them now, Guru?
Honestly, no, not. blah blah blah. I already played him, so I hate to be that guy. So I'm not playing him anymore. But I played him very sizably, listeners. Like, very sizably. So I'm looking for him to win. He's in a parlay. He's in our parlay on BetMMA, the same one that we placed up there. I don't necessarily. I mean, I guess him playing him by submission. No, I really don't actually. Plus 195. I feel like all the juice is sucked.
It moved.
Yeah, so you might as well play it. Just play him by finish, which is gonna be
minus 175.
Right, or minus 170 on DraftKings. I mean, I'm sorry. So yeah, that's probably where you play it. And he's gonna blow the roof off the gaff.
What you got, Bane?
I have to completely agree. I think that it is a really interesting discussion between stopping with strikes or stopping with a sub. Again, Vargas hasn't been subbed since 2013. It's been a while since that guy has been stopped in that method. And like you mentioned, never been knocked out before, but look at that differential in strikes landed per minute. I mean, 10.6 to 3.85. We know that Paddy's coming in with the volume. We know that he's going to be incredibly aggressive. And what I suggested earlier with Tom Aspinall and those showmanship questions, there is a lot of showmanship certainty within Paddy Pimblett. This guy knows how to market himself. He knows what works. He knows what sells. And what sells is highlight reel finishes, whether that be a great sub or more often than not, a massive KO. And I think that Paddy's going to be headhunting and searching for it. And I believe, he's going to get it done. A guy who's never been KO'd. He's never faced Paddy Pimblett. And as much as I dislike the guy, I mean, I'd love if Paddy faced Ilya Topuria. Topuria would knock his head in the next week. I mean, shit, that's the easiest win of Topuria's career.
Would love it.
But we're not. We'll save shitting on Paddy for a different time. But I do think that, like you mentioned, you want to build these guys. You put him against Rodrigo Vargas and Paddy's just. I think that this is a lock. If I were going to say any certainty, any above 90% certainty, it'd be Paddy. Now, inside the distance, sure. I would go as far to say KO at plus 150.
All right.
Yeah. It's so funny because I just mentioned to TB earlier that they did a UFC Destined on ESPN Plus, and they're doing it on Paddy Pimblett and Rodrigo Vargas. And Kazula Vargas, not Rodrigo Vargas, Kazula Vargas. And I sent that it was Rodrigo Kazula Vargas.
Exactly.
Rodrigo Kazula Vargas. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. But yeah, so and I sent it to TV and he goes, "Are they actually following around Vargas with the cameras? Or is it just TV though?" I was just Paddy the whole time. It was just so funny because it's like, are you really gonna send the whole camera crew around to follow Rodrigo Vargas?
36-year-old, yeah. What the fuck is he gonna do? He's drinking from the water fountain. Yeah, he's walking to media day.
This is my family. This is where he is.
They're sitting there. They're like, dude, Vargas hasn't spoken in 20 minutes. We're getting nothing. Meanwhile, Paddy's bashing it with Ilya in the hotel lobby. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, dude. Ultimately, I think another big thing. Paddy's got one of the best walkouts in MMA. So you got Vargas is going to be walking out first, and then Where's Your Head At comes on, and that crowd's going to be fucking bumping when Paddy comes out. You saw what they were doing in Cage Warriors when he walked out. I mean, he's going to have them going crazy. Kazula might just melt a little bit. I know he's got the experience, but there could be a lot of energy.
Dude, there's experience, and then there's O2 Arena rocking for Paddy. Like there's levels. It's just not even close. I think he's gonna get smashed.
The people are a little lucky here because I think that the way this is rolling, like we got a couple legs back to back. Look at this. We got Gunnar Nelson making his UFC. Yeah,
I think it's Gunnar.
It's Gunnar. It's Gunnar. Yeah, he's
I just American. I just like.
Oh, for sure.
Did I fuck it up?
Is that Western way of pronouncing things? Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry. You look at
sorry.
It's okay.
And I laughed at it too. Jesus, sorry, Gunnar.
But it's all right. I think it's Gunnar.
I guess we can cross him off getting him on the show. Damn it.
Well, listen, you got him coming in. Maybe once he finds out what we're about to do with his line, maybe he'll have a little bit more interest because, I mean, once again, he's at minus 490 right now. And Takashi Sato, short notice, flying over the pond, coming down from Sanford MMA on short notice. Coming over to fight Nelson in front of what's going to be an absolute electric crowd. Nelson's going to bring that pressure. And what does Takashi Sato really dislike? It's being taken down and controlled because I know he hasn't given up a ton of it so far in the UFC, but that actually has a lot to do with his judo and avoiding the initial takedowns. Once he gets taken down, it's not pretty. And he's lost by submission 2 times so far in the UFC. His other loss in his career has been by knockout. And I just see this being one of those positions where, Nelson, full training camp, hugely focused on coming back. Late opponent switch, I don't think necessarily matters so much here unless Sato can land that straight left down the pipe. But Nelson's been hurt and just continued wrestling before. I don't see this as that huge test there. So give me Gunnar Nelson as the second leg of our best bet parlay.
Yeah, not for nothing. Again, really, guys, check out our Bet MMA page. At this point, it's not about even being douchey with getting early lines. It's like the way UFC is worked. There's so many more people watching now. And then especially with this London card and coming in with overseas movement, we got Gunnar Nelson minus 355, guys. He's up to minus 450 or 490. Like, the line has just exploded. And we placed it, not the bet 2 weeks ago. We placed the bet 2 days ago. Okay. So check in on our page. We don't do it too far ahead that it's like crazy. Too hard to think about. But, yeah, Gunnar Nelson, man, just a super beast. One of those guys that, you almost thought had like title aspirations, going into that Leon Edwards fight. I mean, that's what that fight was. And then Leon Edwards never got the shot anyway. I guess he's finally going to get it now. But so that fight was incredible. Split decision. I mean, the right guy won, in my opinion, with Leon getting the dub. But, I mean, you see Gunnar just absolutely take some shots. He shows absolutely elite submission game and awesome wrestling. And I think Takashi Sato, with how many submission losses in his career? A bunch.
3 out of 4. 3 out of 4. 2 once outside.
Yes.
Hey, guess where 10 of Gunnar Nelson's last 11 wins have come? Submission. 10 of his last 11 by sub 12 overall in his career. And you see that reflected in the line. It's minus 110. How often, guys, do we see a finish being a favorite?
Or submission finish being a favorite.
You're right, man.
But I do think it happens. And honestly, that line has run away because, again, 2 days ago, you could have gotten that plus money. So, yeah, you just play Gunnar Nelson. I think he's just going to win.
And the last 3 losses for Sato have come by way of submission. Again, it was against Bilal Muhammad and Miguel Baiza. You're getting subbed by Baiza. Guess what? You're more than definitely getting tapped out by Gunnar Nelson. Like, it just is not. I don't see. Again, I think this is what, like, short replacement. Was it Claudio Silva was originally slated to face off?
Which, again, he was going to sub the fuck out of him too.
Right, yeah. So we've traded one good sub prop for another, and I'm perfectly content with it. I mean, shit. Minus 110, I'll lay some coin on that all day long. I will say, Gunnar's been, as you see there, knocked down 3 times. Leon Edwards, of course, did that in the clinch with a beautiful elbow. So I don't want to suggest durability questions, but 33, I mean, he's taken some damage. Takashi's got 11 out of 15 wins by KO, TKO. So
it's a question.
You want to sprinkle. If we're talking sprinkles, Sato by KO, TKO plus 650, that line feels inflated. His best bet to win is by finishing Gunnar. Because, again, we've already talked about it. There's no fucking way that he's going to get a decision.
Nope.
So Sato has to finish him, and it's going to likely come by strikes. So plus 650, I will put like $3 on it. Because why?
I like that.
That's just we love calling that. We dig into grandma's couch cushions, right? And she's not gonna miss that money. She's never gonna know. It's falling between there.
It's grandma. Yeah, she's checking the mail. She's got dementia. She doesn't know.
She hasn't cleaned a couch cushion since 1967. She's never gonna miss that money.
Chocolates.
What are they selling? They're selling chocolates.
So shit, man. That's another leg there. Stay tuned because we got another one. Not quite yet. But it's coming up. We got our next fight here. Talk about getting the crowd pumped up, being buddies. We got Molly McCann. She's been training with Patty. They got their own thing going down at Next Generation MMA Liverpool. They're really trying to build like a new following down there with their Scousers because they lost Darren Till like as their big representative out of Liverpool. And now it looks like they're building up a couple big names. And man, they just moved Molly up to the main card also, trying to give her another little bump. I mean, So the line keeps kind of vacillating here. McCann back up to -140. The one at Carolina +120. You look at the size, and Carolina's got the 2-inch height, 7 inches of reach. But something that always comes back in a Molly McCann fight, as you look at her takedowns per 15 and takedowns allowed, her takedown efficiency is just about the same number as her defense. So if she's facing someone that has a physicality advantage and a grappling advantage, it's game over, because as we saw Lara Procopio, as we saw Talia Dos Santos, as we saw Jillian Robertson, Vanessa Mello on the regional scene. These are all names of fighters that are more physical and willing to push a grappling pace. Now, Carolina, you can kind of cross off that list right there. She's got 0 takedowns per 15 in her 4 UFC fights. She's given up 13 minutes of opponent control, but she does have 9 minutes of her own, a lot of that coming in the clinch and fighting takedown attempts. Lupi Godinez was much smaller than Luana Carolina, and for all of her takedown attempts, she couldn't really secure much aside from a little bit of control. So that's where you see Carolina start to pull away. McCann, I think she actually might be the stronger fighter here, and only giving up a couple inches of height, that might help when you get into those fence positions and McCann's going to push that pace, get forward. I mean, we see 7.7 strikes landed at distance per minute at distance. That almost doubles Carolina, who's supposed to be this Muay Thai expert. So I think ultimately I could see McCann winning this on any level. It's just a question. I want to see the face-off to kind of see where the physicality stands. And I'm not rushing to put McCann in a parlay, but it could be a little solo play coming up, because I want to see her nice and confident at that weigh-in, at the face-off. Once I see that, I think I'll be pulling the trigger, especially if the line keeps on trickling back to Carolina near even money where it was just a day ago.
I hate to be that guy. I have really nothing much to add. I couldn't agree more. It's not a fight I'm itching to bet, more kind of itching to watch. The Molly McCann, how she looked against Jeon Kim while she put on a fight of the night performance, got that 50K. It's a sketchy fucking performance. She gets shut down in round 1 and has to work her ass off to the bone to completely gut out against a tough opponent. The unanimous decision, but that was brutal. And I remember having a fairly big, a decent sized bet on her. I think nothing too crazy, but I just think I remember being more than I wanted it to be. So in this fight, I think it'll go the distance, but I'm sure that's probably juiced up. And I lean Molly as well. Like you said, I'm waiting for weigh-ins. Bane, did you see anything different? You see anything more? What do you got, bud?
Guru, I'm sitting in the same seat you are. Just not much to add. I overall haven't been impressed with McCann in terms of maybe a technical realm. I think heart, durability, I mean, that will of a fighter, she certainly has that and has exhibited it every single time. And so +110 on her by decision. Again, I can't harp on this enough. Guys, they're going to give it to the hometown fighters unless it's a very, very decisive, performance by the opponent. And again, within her last 2 fights, Carolina has 1 split decision win. We know for a fact if it's in any way, shape, or form a split, it's going to go McCann's way. And I have to also agree on the weigh-ins. It really does come down to that. Who looks better? Because Carolina +180 by decision. So it's going to be that bet. And it just depends on how they show up and who looks the best. But I'm thinking McCann. I mean, she has the ability to dig deep and make it a dirty fight. And like you mentioned, Carolina as a Muay Thai expert, those numbers are a little low in the striking for somebody who should be a stand-up fighter. So that's my short take on this one.
Yeah, they love to talk about her boxing and stuff, and it's just not excellent.
I went in like looking at the line. I was like, Guru, I think I might be on Carolina. And then I came out. I was like, bro, I am not on Carolina.
I am absolutely staying far away. In terms of fights overall, where I'm like, I don't really want to bet. This is one where I kind of don't really want to bet either single or putting it in a parlay. It's just, I don't know. Because there have been some performances where I'm like, McCann should come in and sweep, and then she fucking loses. And I'm like, well, women's MMA is just impossible to predict. Jillian Robertson just last week or 2 weeks ago thought she'd come looking good against I believe it was Aldrich. She looked awful. So I'm like, I am not interested really.
I'm so mad at myself for picking Jillian and not looking further, because the tape showed so much how much Jillian struggles with her striking and any sense of wrestling. And I thought that JJ Aldridge, all roads would lead back to the clinch or a takedown where she'd be in trouble. And she was so much better. She took it over 7 minutes till she like put it on the ground or whatever. So she just beat the shit out of Jillian. And then when it was on the ground, she was just on top and Jillian couldn't do anything. It was great game plan from JJ, who just smother her. And honestly, it shows like, and something I also wanted to maybe mention about Arnold Allen, it shows the same thing with Jillian. Like Jillian refuses to leave Dean Thomas.
Right.
Arnold Allen has not left his dad, right? Like you kind of want to see them. You hate to say it, you can't get it done unless you go to a big gym. It's not the coaches, it's the training partners. All the fighters will tell you that it's the bodies that you get to work with. And, I think it could be a problem, but
yeah, maybe you do that McCann and over 1.5 type of dealio. Maybe that gets you some plus money.
No, it's not. I checked -115.
Yeah.
Still fine, still good. Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well, fair enough. I mean, the over 2.5 is like -370. That was a good catch, Guru. Look at you.
I was right. I was already looking because Molly McCann by decision, like he said, was the play. I'm like, ooh, what if I can get it? Molly McCann and over 1.5 and over 2.5, and it was the same 135, 115. It's like whatever.
All right, Guru. Let's see if you're just as on the ball with this next question I'm going to have. This next fight, we got Jai Herbert at +400 and Ilya Topuria at -550. What did we get Topuria as at our third leg in our parlay just a couple days ago?
-400.
There you go, guys. So moral of the story. And now that parlay checks out to what? -103, right?
Yeah.
And if you go to place that parlay now, what do you get? So as you figure that out, this fight, Jai Herbert.
It wasn't
4
rhetorical.
inches. No, Jai Herbert is 6 inches taller. He does have an 8-inch reach advantage. He does, seemingly stylistically on the feet, have the in and out movement, the overall striking capabilities. You see him in orthodox, but he'll switch his stance occasionally. But the thing overall is you just can't trust that chin. I mean, he's huge for the lightweight division. And so Topuria going up weight here after a bit of a failed cut against Charles Jourdain. I don't mind that so much, him coming back and testing out, all right, let's see, let's just get back in there, get a fight going. And Herbert, accepting this on short notice here, a guy like Topuria is going to grind him out. The takedown defense from Herbert, whether it was Cage Warriors, whether it was in the UFC so far, it's just not there. 30%. I mean, that's worse than Molly McCann's, which I was just, commenting on just a second ago. I mean, I know that's only a few fights worth, but listen, Jai Herbert, also, we've seen him cracked by Reese McKee. Yeah. We've seen him cracked by Trinaldo. Ilya Topuria could crack the chin.
Not just cracked. 42-year-old Trinaldo, I believe it passed 40. I don't know if it was 42.
Yes.
But fucking knocked out cold on the feet. There's just no.
What's up, Drew Allen?
No faith that I can place in Herbert's chin, which is, God, why his last fight against Kamaru pissed me off so much? Because I'm like, come on, bone crusher. This is what you're fucking known for. Why couldn't you end him? But the thing that I hate to interrupt and jump in,
you
win,
baby. Let's go.
Intriguing thing. There's one intriguing thing about Jai Herbert, and it's the fact that 9 of his 11 wins have come by KO TKO. Since 2018, he has won solely by KO TKO. And the line doesn't really reflect that. +600 for Herbert to win by KO TKO. Again, like I have to mention for the upteenth time, his best bet of winning is likely with a KO or a TKO stoppage. And you're telling me that +600 isn't a deal. So I'm sprinkling there. But I feel like the sensible decision is just Ilya by stoppage. Could be a sub, could be a knockout. I feel he's just going to end Herbert quite quick.
Yeah. It would be a disservice to Grandma's couch cushions if you didn't reach back in there one more time and put it on Jai Herbert by knockout. I mean, again, like it's a good answer, but kind of like the SATs, right? We're not looking for the good answers. We're looking for the best one. So while Grandma's couch cushions, I don't think will mind. Like you just said, I think Ilya Topuria is that best answer. I think Ilya Topuria by finish is probably that best answer. Jai Herbert's chin is fairly suspect, man. It's pretty up there. And like TB asked me to do, not rhetorically, I pulled up that line for you guys. That parlay as it sits right now on FanDuel where we pulled it is -128. And we pulled that at -103. So that's just a difference of 48 hours. What it'll look like on Friday, Saturday, I would imagine would be continually wider. So that's why you pull it out early, and I would say, listen, if you got a couple extra bucks, I'd say still pull it, right? We literally laid like 103 to win $100. Go lay 128 to win $100. Like it's a difference of $23. I know that sucks, but like that's the price of line movement, fam. It's real.
And listen, guys, make sure you give us a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to our channel because we got these picks coming out hot weekly. Make sure you go follow our Bet MMA tips because you're going to get those picks a little even earlier than the pod these days. We're getting a couple plays out there, but I'm not going to go crazy announcing them on Twitter. I want you guys to come hang out with us here. We have a good time. Hop in the chat. Leave a comment. Who's your best bet? We're going to pull you up on the screen.
You also have to make sure to go follow our guest at Ben the Davis oh my goodness,
Ben the Bane Davis
at the Bane Davis.
Close.
Jesus,
Yes,
it's okay. I'm only reading it. I'm only fucking reading it. You can't read it.
Maybe
correctly.
that's what the problem was.
Ben at the Bane Davis. Jeez Louise, man, it's not too hard to forget. I mean, you were at what were you at before you got? Like, should I even mention that?
No, that's sad story.
Is that a score spot?
My account getting suspended for no reason.
Yeah.
I was like north of 5,000. Now I'm
fucking bullshit.
You're
just as popular though.
Yeah. I would say,
much
yeah. Not to be too narcissistic, but I think
you're killing it.
You're a man of the people.
Amen, baby. I'm like what was that? Braveheart. William, what was his name?
William.
We're all right.
All right. Well, hey, listen. Now, as we move on from a fight, we had a lot of momentum on. I'll be honest with you, people. This is one of those fights. Like, if I could just sum it up by giving you a little metaphor. This is a gas tank fight right here, and in this economy where gas is so expensive, I'm not wasting $1 on these gas tanks.
Jeez.
I'll tell you that because honestly, you come in. I mean, Grundy, he's giving up to 3 inches height. These guys are basically they're the same type of idea. It's just like Grundy's got a little bit more present power, and Amirkhani's got a lot more experience in the UFC. But they're both looking for those front headlock choke series. Like is this fight going to end by submission when one guy gasses out and the other just goes, all right, well, I'm going to sprawl and just take your neck as you shoot a lazy shot on me? Amirkhani, does he have more than 5 minutes of gas? I don't know. Does Grundy have more than 7 minutes? I don't know. I'm not willing to find out with my money. I'll tell you that. So, Guru, you got something to add here?
I don't know what the line even opened at. I really wish I could get Grundy at like -135 or something, -140. I think he's the rightful favorite. I think he should win. I don't want to lay -178 on FanDuel, -180 on DraftKings. I don't want to do that on him. And I do not trust Amirkhani at all enough to survive 15 minutes. So I'm not betting some sort of over parlay, and I don't trust. It's a whole sketchy situation. Grundy is an absolute spam wrestler G in terms of that, but he also got shut down by Lando Venata, got stuffed like 18 of 20 times. So, I don't think Amirkhani has that situation at all. I don't think he stuffs the takedowns, but if you shoot too close, you get caught in a guillotine, and that's, Amirkhani's favorite thing there. So I think it's a problem. The other big problem with Amirkhani is I thought he was still dead. 5 months ago, he got put in a coma by Lerone Murphy, and like I thought they were going to give us an update about that. That was one of the most scary knockouts we've seen in a long time. There was really no update. I never saw anything. I guess he's fine. He's back here fighting Grundy, who's not necessarily a risk for KO, but I guess anybody is with 4-ounce gloves. Bane, you seeing anything?
I like what Curie said. I think, Amirkhani within the first 5, that's worth some money, but Grundy overall better. I think just stronger. The pedigree is a bit higher in the grappling department, but similarly, I just don't trust these two. If I had to go run an errand and I was like, can you watch my dog? I would not come to Mike Grundy or Makwan Amirkhani because my dog would probably be dead. And we'd see Lerone Murphy running away. I don't really prefer these guys. I love the fact that Amirkhani has so much more experience, right? That's something that really is a needle mover in terms of what you think about fights. But within the last 2-3 years, I mean, he's lost 4 out of his last 5, 2 of those being stoppages by KO, TKO, like we talked about. Grundy isn't known for that. That's not really his operative, but Amirkhani's chin seems to not really be all that dependable. So we could maybe see that Grundy big right hand landing. You just simply don't know. So if I were to bet, would just say don't.
I'd say call 1-800-GAMBLERS.
Yeah. I say, yeah, if you're laying some serious money on either of these cats, you should call somebody and stop. Just stop betting.
I do like Grundy to win the fight, though.
Mhm.
I feel like I wish there was a way to split the baby here, and I just don't really see it. Like,
Yeah,
I wish there was a way to. There was a prop. There was a
don't
hedge,
do
there was
it,
a this.
people. Don't do it, people.
Oh,
That's
well,
it.
listen. Wait a minute. Amirkhani by sub plus 500 is a little too greasy. That's a little ridiculous. And,
I'm sure there's several props that you could put some money on. You know, with any fight, there's random lines where you're like, shit, I need to capitalize on this potential. I would say fight by unanimous decision minus 125. That might be the best one. Again, we're not touching it. We're not touching it, but that might be the best one.
Have you watched Arrested Development there, Bane?
I have. Yep.
No touching. No touching.
So, anyways, let's get rolling right along here to another big
We keep
heavyweight
rolling. I'm singing Limp Bizkit now. All right.
I guess we reached that part of the night here. Maybe we shouldn't have done those shots. But here we got Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Sergey Pavlovich. This is the battle of the Eagle gyms in Russia. Shamil actually probably out of Dagestan there. Oopsies. This one, I mean, Shamil, 11 years older. They are the same size, but Pavlovich coming in with a gigantic 8-inch reach advantage. And the dude has been training with Volkov and Krylov. So as far as good training partners, I know he has them. As Shamil, I know he's got the experience, but, that left hook that he loves throwing, that wrestling game, he doesn't quite have the movement to close the distance on some of these guys at this point. And Pavlovich, he times that 1-2 combo so well. And I mean, he's just got the fucking power. The problem is this is a heavyweight fight and you're getting Pavlovich at minus 310 coming off of like a 2-year layoff. I'm sorry, nearly a 2.5-year layoff. And his last wins were against Maurice Green. Yeah. Now being put in there versus Alistair Overeem in your first fight, that's tough. So you can kind of overlook a little bit of that grappling and the ground and pound. But Shamil, there's obviously a pathway. One, knockout power, or two, if he does somehow get that wrestling working again now. I mean, he's got 4 submission wins in his career and plenty of ground and pound to go around as well. So there is a chance that Shamil could pull something off. You're not going to find Pavlovich in like a best bet type of parlay for me this week. No. But as far as like a playable prop or a line that I'm going to be looking at, Sergey Pavlovich by knockout in round 1 plus 110. That's probably it. But if you want to protect yourself a little bit more, you could do like a Pavlovich round 1 or round 2. That's minus 190, line. But like, ew.
That's a hard plus one. Wait a minute. That's a hard. I mean, that's a horrible line.
But that's probably what happens, and that's why I'm not really recommending.
That's a 3-layered parlay at plus 110. That's brutal.
It tells you everything you need to know, right?
Yeah, you're right. Shamil has given you no reason to believe in his chin. Sergey, for heavyweight, he's just a fucking tank. His back is ripped. He's just huge. I was hoping that this was one of those fights that there were so many favorites that the line had kind of run away with other fights, and maybe this one would kind of chill, and it didn't. Like I think he opened like minus 240, which is something way more comfortable. Again, something that at a certain point we think like we get tired of playing so many fights too early, and then we wait, and then the line still moves, and we should have played it. Sergey really probably could have been a nice parlay piece at that minus 310. It's just like at a certain point you have to win, right? Minus 310 is what is that 75% implied probability? 72%. So it's like it's too much, especially from when we haven't seen him. So he's probably gonna win. I just probably just gonna stay away at this point. But he will win.
Yeah, I mean, to compound off the last one, it's like a fight that I'm certainly not going to put anything on. You look at the last 2 losses that Shamil has, Chris Daukaus and Curtis Blades. So you're clearly, if you're beating Shamil, you're up in that top echelon at 265. And when your most recent win, which came, 2-3 years ago, is
Aren't
Maurice,
they fighting each other next week?
Who? Maurice and Marcelo?
No, Chris Daukaus and Curtis Blades.
I think so.
Specifically.
Aren't they?
Like,
yeah.
Isn't that the main event for Columbus specifically?
That's really funny. So if you beat Shamil, his next opponent will be your main event. So I don't know. I mean, I think that you're completely correct in terms of physical attributes. This should be a layup for Sergey, but I mean, that 3-fight win streak that Sergey had from 2017 to 2019, Chase Sherman, Andrei Arlovsky, Marcin Tybura, especially with a finish over Tybura, those are decent guys that he was able to beat not too long ago. And if he's only getting dusted by the elite, and I will mention, you said round 1, that's the prop. Those were round 2 finishes when Daukaus and Blades got him out. So I'd say if you were going to go in any round, the most 2 recent outings that Shamil has lost were round 2. So I'd sprinkle within the second set.
Plus 380. Plus 380, Bane.
Now you're talking.
Ooh.
Now you're speaking
I'm
my
just
language.
saying.
All right, Pops.
I don't think that a guy like Sergey, who clearly doesn't have the strength of schedule that Shamil has, I think it's going to take him a period of time, to get back in the octagon, shake that rust off. And if he is searching for the finish, I just don't see it happening in the first 5.
Yeah. And I was about to say one more thing. It's sometimes it bothers me because I say, we said it last week too. It's like, oh, we're not going to play Miranda Maverick. The line has gotten a little too wide. And bro, she fucking dominated. Don't ask her left eye or whatever. I hope she's okay. But like, other than that, like, she fucking dominated that fight. So it's like all this time spent worrying about the closeness of a line and whatnot. When you think somebody's going to dominate and the path is there, they probably just do. So I feel like Sergey Pavlovich could be that Miranda Maverick type. Like we avoided it, and it was just he just kind of washes them.
That's certainly a possibility. Next fight here, it's kind of criminal that it's this far down on the card.
Yeah,
Nikita Krylov versus Paul Craig. I mean, how is Krylov still only 29 years old? First of all, I feel like he's been around forever. He knocked out Walt Harris at heavyweight, right? I mean, long time ago, but. Oh, no, he got knocked. Yeah, he knocked him out. Yeah, he knocked out Harris at heavyweight in 2014. He ends up moving down light heavyweight. He looks like he's in some of the best shape of his life. Been training out, like we said, Volkov, Pavlovich, getting some rounds in with some good strikers. But Paul Craig is not a guy that you really worry about his striking. Is he really getting those grappling looks in? And Krylov, man, he's lost by submission 5 times, 3 of those in the UFC. It's against some high-level competition. So, but is there anyone more high-level at grappling in general in the light heavyweight division than Paul Craig?
I mean, OSP has some serious chokes. We know that he's fond of that. And guess who subbed him? Our guy, Nikita Krylov. One thing that's interesting to me, he's been alternating wins and losses since 2018, recent one being a loss, which means he's due for a win if historical accuracy is there. So just based on his record alone, I feel like he has some juice. But I like Bear Jew a lot. I think Paul Craig is a real specimen at that weight class. And recently, of course, maybe not too recent, but just last year, Jamal Hill dislocating that arm in the fashion that he did, and then seeing Sweet Dreams succeed in the ways that he has. I mean, that is just really, really impressive. And the Alonzo Menafield loss, Jimmy Crute loss, those are there. But I don't know. It seems like if you're cut from a sort of different cloth, you're going to beat Nikita Krylov, which that's just been kind of emphasized over and over in his career.
Yeah, I mean, this recent run that you have Craig on, I mean, you see his submission line is at plus 450.
Right. So I was about to, I mean, so I was about to say, you've seen somebody like Nikita Krylov while he probably should win this fight. The line has now continued to get closer and closer where you see somebody like Paul Beardew Craig, someone you love to see at plus 200, plus 250. You love to get him at a dog price. He seems to be the very public dog at this price as the line continues to creep closer and closer. The problem is, and I think what everybody's starting to see, is Nikita Krylov has 5 career losses by submission. Paul Craig loses every single fight until he wins by submission. So you're starting to see a discrepancy in the line. You see Paul Craig when again, so on FanDuel, you generally have the better lines, especially on props. But you see Paul Craig by submission at plus 350 on FanDuel and plus 450 on DraftKings, which tells me it's really just an oversight on the DraftKings part. And I would expect that line to dip. So I have now already placed some money on Paul Craig by submission. With all of that being said, there's something telling me that maybe Bane is right. Maybe that alternating thing is true, and Krylov could just maybe lay on top and not end up in a shitty situation. The other side of that coin is that this is about to be one of the chalkiest cards, as it seems. So any kind of place where you could reasonably see a dog, I think you got to maybe take it. And this is, of the first 4 or 5 fights, this is, to me, the absolute most reasonable spot for a dog to cash.
I think Krylov, one of the things that makes me nervous, if I knew he was just going to use his karate and his distance striking, I'd be like, all right. But he seems to like crash forward into these clinch-like positions, or at least closing the distance and engaging with some guys that maybe you really wouldn't want to ideally. And you see even Johnny Walker ends up getting him in like a mount position before getting reversed in the 3rd round. There's just certain times where it's like Krylov just has these fatal mistakes. It's not that he's that not talented or not like he's one of my favorite guys. I even said Valiev goes the distance. Exactly.
It's consistency. Yeah, you can't really bet on what he's going to do because the technical spectrum that he displays varies fight to fight. And sometimes it's like, wow, Nikita's really putting it all together. And then sometimes it's like, Nikita, what the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
But that's the thing. And like what Guru said, man, Craig is quite consistent with how he gets it done. He loses until he wins by sub. That's the patented bread and butter that he feeds his family every single night on the dining room table. So I don't think I'm going to bet on this one, but I do think +4, north of +400, Paul Craig by sub. I might just toss a bet on that alone.
Yeah.
So I know we may have rated Grandma's couch cushions, but I'm going to
She's not going to have a couch. I've taken the whole fucking couch with how much I've been like just picking here and there. She's going to be like, where the fuck is my couch? And I'm like, it's sitting on 18 different
right, but we haven't checked. Grandpa has that armchair, right? Nobody, he sits in the corner, right? He reads his paper right by the fireplace. Nobody checks over there. When he's sleeping, all right, you go there, you check the armchair, and you're going to put it on Paul Craig by sub, all right? Yeah. That's the plan.
Oh, God. So our poor grandparents aren't going to have a house left by the end of this show.
Yeah, they're fucking now.
Thank God we're getting to the end of it here because...
So I put on my grandparents' TV thanks to Chronic Combat Conversations.
But this one's great though. I fucking
you ever suck dick for marijuana? No.
We got fucking Jack Shore, another one of these guys that's gonna get a huge pop from the crowd here. I know he's not technically from England, but like, United Kingdom, it's the whole idea. Yeah, Wales is up there. So versus Timur Lucky Valiev. This is one of those spots though where Jack Shore, his line, he opened up as a pretty sizable dog, and now we're all the way down at what do we got here? We got +100 and Valiev at -120. Upon watching some tape and really looking at Jack Shore's striking, he likes throwing those leg kicks, and he does have solid boxing combos. It's just the real question of, the power and what guys have been able to do to Valiev in the past to scare him off of his game plan. Valiev is very much a point fighter. Kicks, boxing combos, kicks at all levels, but Jack Shore loves catching kicks and using them for takedowns. Valiev loves scrambling and doing all that. So really, I do think this fight should be super close as far as the line goes. And ultimately, I lean on the Valiev side overall, just from a technical standpoint. He can do more things with a little bit more flair, maybe win a little bit more on the scorecards, put out a little bit more volume. But Jack Shore, this guy can also blanket you for 15 minutes easy. So if Valiev's scrambles aren't there, if his cardio is not there, this could be a very long night for him. So I'm not rushing to place a bet overall. Guru, do you got some kind of idea?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you, unfortunately. I'm on the Jack Shore side. I unfortunately, again, I feel like the dog prices kind of escaped us. You could have Jack Shore at like plus 140 or something, and now you're getting it much closer to pick 'em odds. I don't love that. At plus 100 though, you know how much I love my plus money. I may end up taking a stab there anyway. The end of the day, Jack Shore's striking is very meat and potatoes. There's nothing to write home about it. It's not super special, but it's technical enough and it does get the job done. He's more hittable than you'd like to see. You'd like to see a little bit more head movement and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, it's really he's just trying to get you to the ground where he is a absolute blanket, like you mentioned. Timur Valiev has had a very, very interesting run in the UFC, right? He had that crazy great start to his debut and then gets knocked out by Trevin Jones, but that gets reversed from the marijuana charge, right? And then he has then he wins against was it he beats up Ron
Heoni, yeah, Barcelos and Martin Day, his previous two
right.
outings.
Martin, thank you. That was the fight I wanted to say next. It was Martin Day. So that's why I forgot it, because beating Martin Day really means nothing. It means that you, at the very least,
Martin Day's listening at home right now, like, what the fuck?
Cross him off as another fighter I won't get on the show. But Martin Day, the Spartan Day, is not somebody that, like, if you don't beat Martin, like, you really don't belong. It's a litmus test, and he gets what he does, what he needs to do, and then he beats. No, he doesn't beat, right? He does. He beats Rahani Barcelos, right? And that fight, it was a slobber knocker of a fight, and when you look back on it, maybe it's not as good of a performance, right? Because
he was close to dying. Heoni had Valiev, nearly on the edge of consciousness.
Oh yeah,
and so the defensive nature isn't there, but Jack Tank Shore is certainly not the striker that Barcelos is.
The problem,
and that's for me. I was riding Shore heavy coming into this, and then I researched it a little bit, and I was like, boy, am I less confident. Now we're talking about an undefeated fighter in Jack Tank Shore. We always know that 15-0, that 11-0, that 13-0, that mentality when you've never tasted defeat inside the octagon, how you're riding that confidence high. Valiev, though, similarly hasn't been defeated in a long time. It's 2016, right, is when his last loss was. So each of these guys is quite confident and very similarly equipped. Grappling, great. I think if the thing about this fight is whoever gets on top first is probably going to win. Whether it be Valiev, whether it be Shore. And the thing that's moving my brain is obviously the takedowns of Shore. You can see just he's got more of a percentage through 15 minutes of getting guys down there, and 12 finishes in his 15 wins, 8 of those subs, versus Valiev, who's more of a guy who goes to the scorecards. 11 out of his 18 wins are by decision. So I think that if Shore can get it down, if he's successful and beats Valiev to it, then this is Tank all day. We're going 16-0. But if Valiev's leg kicks, if some of those things on the feet kind of surprise Shore and he can't really defend or get his own offense working, I can see Valiev coasting to another decision like he's kind of done in the past. I feel like the other element, again, is that home field, home crowd. If Shore, he's either going to shine under that or he's going to wilt and the pressure is going to get to him. It's a young kid. And so I think that this is a big moment for him to either take that step into stardom and really make a big statement. And I think he's going to, but there is a very, very real chance that Valiev upsets the train a bit. I mean, if I'm the UFC, honestly, I wouldn't have done this. I would have done some different matchmaking. I would have given Jack Tank Shore a more Vargas type opponent where it's a great opportunity for him to secure a win in his hometown. This is not a far out fight. This is tight. This is close. And so I want to go with Shore, but Guru, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think where it's not close or what you've seen is that I'm not sure what Timur's going to be able to do with the grappling. I mean, as we look at our stats, I mean, it's tough to tell, but I mean, he's only faced 2 takedowns. He's stuffed 1.
Right.
So he hasn't faced somebody like Jack Shore. Look at the takedowns per 15. 4.47. That is absurd. It's absurd. And when you look at who Jack Shore has fought, yeah, it's not the highest level of competition. It may not even be higher level than Timur Valiev, but it's not about the level of competition. It's the stylistic matchup. Shaolin, what does he do? He's a wrestler. Azure, what does he do? Super well-rounded, has the wrestling background, right? I mean, they put him up against really tough. Well, he had that split. He had a really tough fight against. It was the split decision versus Azure. That was the fight where you really saw him, maybe get shown up a little bit in the striking, but really power through and then get the wrestling done, and that's where it was maybe more of a split. But I thought that he really should have won the fight as he did. I think that if Timur gets put on his ass, especially early, he might be a fish out of water.
I can't argue too much. I'm not too heavy there, Bane. You got a counterpoint?
Interesting line, not just to add on it. Jack Shore by sub plus 700, guy who's got over half of his pro wins by sub. That's an inflated line if I've ever seen one.
So, all right. So we're not going to grandma's arm. We're not going to grandma's ass.
This is more of a cookie jar in the kitchen type.
Yes.
Not massive, but I mean, this is a step up from some pocket coin. I could easily justify a $10 wager on that plus 700 line. I mean, I'm not sure what your guys' unit size is. I'm a broke college student, so my bankroll is a bit small relative to some other
were broke college students. Now we're broke college graduates with college loans.
So ultimately, I don't think I have a big play on this one, but that's an interesting little sprinkle you guys got going there. Yeah, I think ultimately I stay off here, and boys, we're getting there. We got a couple fights left to break down. We got a matchup here in the strawweight division. We got Corey McKenna versus Elise Reed, and man, I think this line is a little interesting.
Why?
That McKenna is at minus 240 off of one of like a pretty decently egregious split decision where it's like, I think we could have seen a Kay Hansen victory potentially. It was just a weird fight all around. And like, I could see, McKenna's little like ground and pound pot shots that don't get counted as significant strikes. Like the judges might've been putting those down as, hey, you know what? That's work rate and it counts. But like, I think we're looking at the Sijara Eubanks fight for Elise Reed a little bit too much when we're baking out this line here, because like McKenna, great wrestler, good top control. She's got the activity and all that, but minus 240.
Not gonna have close to the size advantage that Eubanks had on Elise Reed. Elise Reed,
that's it.
At minus 115 was kind of going up weight, get your foot in the door against Eubanks, who was trying to go down weight. So it was like a double whammy in terms of that. And she paid for it dearly with her face, getting absolutely smashed. But Corey McKenna, is the smaller fighter here at the end of the day, right? In terms of the reach, especially, seems to be the same height. And when you watch the Corey McKenna Kay Hansen fight, it was so funny because you thought you were supposed to, at least the announcers made you think McKenna was the grappler and Hansen was the striker, whereas Hansen's eye was swollen shut 50 seconds into the fight, and Hansen was the one going for the grappling takedowns and actually being the better wrestler. It was a really bizarre fight especially in terms of that. Line's too wide. And for me, especially in women's MMA, which is generally more of a coin flip, and then you get the physical advantages, which we've seen means so much more in women's MMA. It's dog or pass in a fight that I'm not even going to violate grandma's couch cushions with them. So, the Bane, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, no, if I was going to lay something on this, it would be I found a quarter outside. I really don't. For me, I didn't do a lot of research on this one. The only thing that I know is that Elise Reed in 2020 at CFFC 83 gets a win over Jasudavicius Vicious. Jasmine Jasudavicius just beat Kay Hansen. So, I mean, if we're talking those opponents, MMA math, of course, never fucking works. But it is interesting. We've seen Kay Hansen lose to people that have that physical advantage. So I think there's a lot of merit within it, but I don't know. I'm talking about Kay Hansen, and that's not even really fucking relevant. You know what I mean? So I have no clue about this fight.
Ultimately, like we talk about like the size differential and stuff like that. Like I just think of Elise Reed. I actually kind of stupidly took her against Eubanks against some of the smarter ideas. And that was very dumb. But like at the same time, you see a plus 195, she's going to have a bit of a size advantage here. That's worth like a tiny sprinkle if you're feeling extremely degenerate. But I think it would be best served to try to find a little prop on our next fight to open up the card.
Or like I was saying before, take that little extra sprinkle instead and put it on our, the little bit extra line you may have to play on our main play. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
Take those extra dollars and put it towards a bet that's actually gonna fucking cash. We all love lottery tickets. We all want to get rich, but guess what? There's nothing better than seeing fucking a green ticket in your fucking Bet MMA, or I mean in your betting app than a red one. So even if you're taking less money, green is green, red is bad. So moving right along.
Yeah, we got Muhammad Mokaev making his highly anticipated debut versus Cody Durden, but you go and you take a look at the line. You got
century
Mokaev at minus 365, Durden plus 280. These guys have been talking a lot of smack back and forth. Durden, we'll put it this way, like extremely disrespectful in his post-fight comments.
To Ricky Long.
Yeah.
And, oh my God. What a horrendous individual.
Yeah, it's not ideal, man. It's like, how do you take time out of your gigantic victory to just be like a complete shithead like that? Like,
it's really weird.
I'm trying to like pull like the, that part out of it, but like you watch Mokaev's tape and I was able to, thanks to OMG, it's Tom Feely out there hooking us up with the Fight TV tape. We did get to see, his fight, two of his fights. So you see him go the distance, and Mokaev, he shows legit scrambling ability. He shows the ability to work from bottom, get back to his feet if it ends up there. He shows cardio, and he shows actually like a decently diverse striking game. I was actually a little bit surprised to see the type of attacks he was going for. It might have not been like the smartest idea at points. So like I could see where him rushing forward and feeling a little too comfortable, it could be bad against a guy that has at least some UFC experience fighting out of a good gym, ATT, ATL. So as far as leg kicks and defending those, like Durden, he's got a lot of experience and he does have that two-time state champion high school wrestling background. He's got the BJJ purple belt. He 1080'd Chris Gutierrez in the first round. Yeah. But we have seen his cardio go down. We saw him winning a first round versus Flick, getting, let me catch this head kick. And next thing you know, he doesn't fight out of the triangle attempt. So it's like Durden's overall trustworthiness is definitely not there. So Mokaev minus 365 as a debutant, as highly anticipated as it is. I'm not looking to throw down on that, but Mokaev by submission plus 200. That's worth a little something for me.
Yeah, there's nothing I really got to see in terms of too much research, especially on the Mokaev side. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm educated on him when I'm not. I'm excited to see him debut. He seemed to be very anxious to put his hands on Cody Durden. He made comments right away on Twitter, like right after Cody said that smack. So I'm very anxious to see it. Cody seems relatively more legit than his UFC career has been to this point. He's got the wrestling, he's got the background you want to see. He did have that good start against Gutierrez. So yeah, kind of with the line being as wide as it is, and we don't know what we're gonna see from Muhammad. It almost makes me want to play a dog, but no, I'm going to keep my money closer to the vest here. And I'm just going to end up circling, like for my picks, I'm probably just going to circle the favorite because it's why go against the grain if I really don't know. Bane, you got anything, bud?
Same thing. Not entirely too educated. Have seen so much of the chatter, but not really a lot of tape behind Mokaev. And I think him by sub, that checks out, right? 2 wins by sub, 2 wins by KO. Flick, or not Flick, but Durden, 2 of his losses of 3 came by submission. So plus 200. Yeah, I can sprinkle it. But one thing that I like, I just like that the IMMAF type experience. That is a organization that I wish got a lot more love within the mixed martial arts realm. And so seeing a product come from it and get so much hype and so young, I'd love to see Muhammad succeed. Not too interested on betting it, but similarly, I'll just toss together like a 2-1 and above favorite parlay and just let that one ride throughout the evening.
All right, and that's at Ben the Bane Davis. So make sure you give him a follow, guys, because he's out here killing it. Thanks so much for giving us your time, man. Really, like,
Nah, pleasure.
It's been awesome talking these fights as we continue to get through. Right? Was that it?
That was it, man.
That was it. We did.
Yeah,
Holy
that was it because Nathaniel Wood and Vince Morales
lost
just got
Wood.
canceled today. So, ladies and
Sadly.
gentlemen, I mean, just to give you our best bet one more time, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe to our channel here because we keep on bringing that heat week in, week out. We got a parlay. If you followed us nice and early in the week, we had Patty the Batty Pimblett, we had Ilya Topuria, and we had Gunnar Nelson. And we got it at -103. You guys can still join the party at -128. Don't be too shy because that shit's going to hit. So
I want to slide a parlay your way. Before we
Let's
go,
go.
let's get a little crazy. Let's get a little
bring it
risky.
on. Bring it on.
Gunner by sub. Topuria to win by KO or sub. Patty to win by KO or sub. Crunching that one out, you get plus 333. So 3-1 underdog odds on those finishing. I anticipate finishes in all 3 of those, and I'm covering my bases in 2 of them. I feel like that's a lot of value, boys. I don't know.
I like that. I like that. So, hey, thanks for joining us, guys. Guru, how about you take us away, baby?
Yeah, listen, seriously, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ben the Bane Davis, thanks so much for being here. Make sure you guys follow him at Ben the Bane Davis on Twitter. You can find me at Guru Scouting MMA on Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. You can find my awesome co-host at TB Scouting MMA on Twitter, Instagram, Verdict, and Tapology. We will see you guys next week with an unbelievable special guest for UFC Columbus, right? Because we're on this awesome pathway now that we're hitting these. It's possible, right? Maybe we're opening up. We're hitting a couple different places, right? This is the first time that it's not Phoenix, Las Vegas, Fight Island, or Anaheim.
Well, it's for a non-pay-per-view event.
Houston.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it's also or Jacksonville. It's of those 6 places. But I know that was a lot. But
I was gonna say, yeah, when you count out, I feel like, oh, they kind of have gone outside of Vegas.
Right, they have,
but now for actual fight nights.
But it's been 6 places for 2.5 years. That's it. Other than the one in Brazil, which was literally about like right before COVID started, that was Oliveira Lee. It's been just those 6 spots. So we're finally venturing out. We're going to get London this week. We got Columbus next week, and God help us, we'll get out there even more. So let's get Bane out of here. I'm sure he's got a million things to do. He's got to go terrorize Gotham or something. So, or Twitter, whatever he's got to do. So Bane, seriously, thank you so much, brother. I really, really appreciate it.
I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Yeah, you guys take care. And TB, thanks so much for being here. Everybody listening, thanks so much for being here. You all take care, and see you next week.